It's a big shame because we want to be part of the solution.
What do you mean we? You're with me, aren't you? You believe in liberal democratic values, don't you, Aisha?
I am a conservative Muslim. I do believe in democratic values, but I don't completely agree with the liberal values because I consider homosexuality to be sinful.
No, but that's fine. You don't want to enforce your opinion on others, though, do you?
No, of course not. But
there you are. So you're on the liberal democratic side of this. You may be conservative, but you know you're no different to Jacob Rees-Mogg. You know he's not an extremist, and nor are you. But the point is, the minute you want to say one day I want a caliphate that punishes gays and criminalises them, then I've got a problem.
But that's not the issue. The issue is killing people. The issue
do you aspire one day to a Sharia state that will criminalise and outlaw homosexuality?
Yes, I do, because eventually I think that would be I don't actively aspire to it, but eventually, and you would know this because you're in Hizb ut-Tahrir, you were in Hizb ut-Tahrir.
Yeah, and I reject all those ideas. And the difference is you don't. Would you? Okay, you aspire to one day. You aspire to a caliphate that would criminalise and punish homosexuality. What about adultery? Do you aspire one day to a Sharia-compliant state that punishes adultery? If the necessary, the principles were in place, and then I would agree with that. But with punishing adultery,
of course, I think adultery is disgusting.
Yep. Okay, and what's the punishment?
Okay, so. Look, as someone who's grown up in this country...
No, don't look me, Aisha. If those ideal Sharia conditions are met, as you've just said, what should the punishment for adultery be?
I'm not trying to evade your question. Stoning to death. I'm not trying to evade your question.
You believe in stoning people to death?
It's part of the Sharia. It's part of the hudud. You can't deny that as a Muslim.
Yes or no? Right? In an ideal Sharia-compliant state, do you believe in stoning adulterers to death?
Okay. I will answer your question if you agree that those actual, the boundaries of what you need to prove, the burden of proof is so high that it would never actually be done, right? If you agree with
an ideal, when the burden of proof is met and all the Sharia conditions are complied with, in an ideal Islamic state, do you endorse the stoning of adulterers to death?
Yes, but in principle, however, I don't believe that it would ever happen because the burden of proof is so high.
Well, I tell you what, Aisha, I thank you for continuing this conversation because you've just demonstrated precisely why you and people like you who sympathise with your kinds of ideas can never be part of the solution. That's worse, Aisha, than the BNP. The BNP don't believe in murdering people for mistakes or choices they make in their personal lives. Sometimes they're not even mistakes, like so-called apostasy laws and blasphemy laws and punishing people for leaving the religion. That's free choice. People like you will never be part of the solution until you abandon those ideas. I will continue talking to you. You're not my enemy, but you're certainly not part of the solution because the ideas and the values you believe in are worse than Tommy Robinson's. They're worse than the EDL. They're definitely worse than anyone who claims to be populist right Trump. They're worse than the BNP because these guys don't go around advocating by law murdering people for personal choices. They may have unpalatable ideas, but you idealize murdering people for making personal individual choices that happen not to agree with your definition of God's law, and that can never be part of the solution. That's Aisha there from Manchester. You're listening to Maajid Nawaz. How do you respond to that? The time now on LBC is 1:18.